Right now, somewhere in the world, someone just popped a bubble wrap bubble, then another, then an entire row. There are apps for this, dedicated apps, millions of downloads. People pay for the digital version of something they could get for free from any shipping box. Therapists hand sheets of it to anxious patients. Japanese researchers publish studies on it. The last Monday of January is officially Bubble Wrap Appreciation Day, a real, globally observed event covered by major news outlets. And the two men who invented it never intended any of this. They wanted to sell wallpaper. 1957, Hawthorne, New Jersey. Alfred Fielding is an American engineer. Mark Chavons is a Swiss chemist. They share a workshop, a small business partnership, and a conviction that the American interior design market is about to change. The Beat generation is reshaping culture. Kerouac just published On the Road. Young Americans are rejecting the clean, sterile aesthetic of the post-war years. They want texture. They want walls that feel something. Fielding and Chavons decide they're going to give American living rooms a completely new look. Three-dimensional, tactile, modern plastic wallpaper. Their process is straightforward. They take two standard plastic shower curtains and feed them both through a heat sealing machine at the same time. The machine fuses the two sheets together along a grid pattern. Air gets trapped in the spaces between the seal points. What comes out the other side is a flexible plastic sheet covered in small, round, air-filled bubbles. They look at it. This is not quite what they pictured, but the bubbles are uniform, the sheet is lightweight, and it has a genuinely unusual texture. They decide it can still work as a design product. They pitch it to retailers, interior designers, and home goods stores as premium textured wallpaper for modern homes. The market's response is complete indifference. Nobody looks at a sheet of plastic bubbles and thinks, yes, this belongs on my wall. The product is strange-looking, impractical to install, and solves a problem nobody has. The wallpaper idea dies without a single commercial sale. Fielding and Chavons regroup. They look at their product again. It's light, it's flexible, it contains trapped air. Air is insulation. Greenhouses. Greenhouse operators spend significant money managing internal temperature year-round. Plastic sheeting already lines some structures, but basic plastic film does nothing to trap heat. A double-layered bubble sheet, they reasoned, could insulate a greenhouse wall far more effectively than flat film. They run tests, they pitch to agricultural suppliers, they demonstrate the thermal properties. The results don't hold up in real conditions. The air inside the bubbles conducts heat more than it traps it. The material isn't durable enough for prolonged outdoor agricultural use. Greenhouse operators pass. Second failure in under 3 years. 1960. They have no customers, a failed wallpaper concept, a failed insulation concept, and a warehouse of unsold inventory. What they do next is either stubborn or visionary depending on how you look at it. They formally incorporate a company. They call it Sealed Air Corporation. They file patents on the manufacturing process. They brand the product Bubble Wrap. They own the name, the process, and the patents for a product that has generated zero revenue. Then, a Sealed Air salesman named Frederick Bowers boards a commuter flight into Newark Airport. The plane hits turbulence on descent. The fuselage shakes, then seems to stabilize, cushioned by shifting air pockets in the atmosphere. Bowers stares out the window. He thinks about bubble wrap. He thinks about fragile objects, about what happens to them inside trucks on long-distance freight routes, about how every company in America that manufactures something breakable has the same problem. How do you ship glass, electronics, ceramics, and precision instruments across the country without them arriving in pieces? Current solutions in 1960 are newspaper, cheap and unreliable, shifts inside the box, tears and provides inconsistent protection, and foam rubber, which is expensive and heavy. Neither is ideal. Bowers lands, goes straight to the office, presents the new pitch strategy. Forget walls and greenhouses. Sell bubble wrap as protective packaging material. 1961, IBM is changing the computer industry. The IBM 1401 is not the first commercial computer, but it is the first one scaled for businesses that aren't the federal government or Fortune 10 corporations. A mid-sized company, a regional bank, a manufacturing plant, or hospital administration can now afford one. IBM's logistics team has a real problem. How do you get something this delicate onto a truck in New York and have it arrive functional in Dallas? Frederick Bowers walks into IBM's procurement offices with a roll of bubble wrap. He wraps a fragile object in front of them, drops it. The object is fine. He explains the material. 2 layers of polyethylene film sealed together with uniform air pockets that absorb and distribute impact energy across the entire surface rather than concentrating it at a single point. IBM approves a test shipment. The computers arrive in perfect condition. IBM signs a contract. Other electronics manufacturers watch IBM's packaging choice and follow. Glassware manufacturers adopt bubble wrap. Medical equipment companies order it by the roll. Art galleries begin wrapping paintings in it for transit. By the mid-1960s, Sealed Air has built a real business. Not the wallpaper business Fielding and Chavons imagined, but a logistics and supply chain business that touches nearly every industry in the country. The reason bubble wrap works for packaging and the reason it failed for everything else comes down to physics. Each bubble is a hermetically sealed pocket of air trapped between two layers of polyethylene film. When a package hits the ground or takes an impact, the force distributes across dozens or hundreds of bubbles simultaneously. Each bubble compresses slightly, absorbing a fraction of the kinetic energy, and then springs back. The result is impact dampening across a wide surface area, far more effective than foam, which compresses and stays compressed, or newspaper, which crumples unevenly. The same property that made it useless on a wall, the fact that the air moves and flexes, is exactly what makes it perfect around a fragile object. Now for the part that Fielding and Chavons never anticipated, never engineered, and never marketed. Somewhere in the 1960s, in offices and warehouses and shipping rooms around America, workers start popping the bubbles. This is not a planned product feature. There is no market research behind it. Sealed Air does not release a press statement about the stress relief properties of their packaging material. People just pop it because it feels good, and then they keep doing it. By the 1990s, the popping has become a documented cultural phenomenon. Kathleen Dillon, a psychologist at Western New England University, formally studies it. She takes a group of subjects, has them pop bubble wrap for 2 minutes, and then runs standard anxiety and mood assessments. Her findings are consistent. People feel measurably more alert, more calm, and less tense after popping than before. The mechanism is physiological. The repetitive motion of pressing and releasing activates mechanoreceptors in the fingertips, the same sensory receptors that respond to massage, kneading, and rhythmic touch. The brain reads this input as calming. The auditory pop, that sharp, clean crack, adds an additional layer of sensory satisfaction. The two together mimic the neurological effect of certain meditative grounding exercises. When you pop bubble wrap, your nervous system responds the same way it responds to being touched soothingly. You are not being irrational. You are doing exactly what 200,000 years of human neurology trained you to do. Sealed Air Corporation grows through the 1970s and 80s into a global business. The product line expands. Different bubble sizes for different applications. Small, tightly packed bubbles for electronics and precision instruments. Larger, widely spaced bubbles for heavy machinery and furniture. Custom molded bubble wrap pouches that form around specific product shapes. Perforated sheets for easy tearing in warehouse environments. In 1993, Fielding and Chavons are inducted into the New Jersey Inventors Hall of Fame. 36 years after a heat sealing machine produced something neither of them fully understood, the state of New Jersey formally acknowledged that they had changed the global supply chain. By this point, Sealed Air is publicly traded, operating in dozens of countries, generating hundreds of millions of dollars annually in revenue. And the product that drives the most brand recognition, the product that people know by name, ask for by name, recognize on site anywhere in the world, is the one that started with a failed shower curtain wallpaper experiment in a New Jersey garage. 1999, a threat enters the market. E-commerce is starting to scale. Amazon, 5 years old, is growing at a rate nobody fully understands yet. And a new packaging format, air pillows, is entering distribution centers everywhere. Air pillows are large inflated plastic pouches used to fill void space inside shipping boxes. They are cheaper per unit than bubble wrap, lighter, and more efficient to store because they ship flat and get inflated on site with a small pump. The packaging industry watches. Some analysts predict bubble wrap will lose significant market share within a decade. Sealed Air's response is methodical. They diversify into other packaging formats. They acquire companies in adjacent markets. They engineer bubble wrap products specifically sized and priced for e-commerce fulfillment, where the volume is enormous and the products shipped are increasingly fragile consumer electronics. And they make a decision, partly strategic, partly intuitive, to lean hard into the cultural identity of the product. Air pillows are efficient. You can't pop them, not really. You can stab them, you can step on them, but you don't get the bubble-by-bubble, tactile, auditory experience that bubble wrap delivers. Sealed Air starts talking about this publicly. They invest in Bubble Wrap Appreciation Day, they generate press coverage, they license the brand for consumer products, actual retail packs of bubble wrap sold not for shipping, but for popping, stress relief, children's sensory play. The company had accidentally created a stress relief product in 1957. 4 decades later, they start selling it as one. 2015, Sealed Air makes a decision that briefly breaks the internet. They introduce iBubble Wrap. It ships flat, you inflate it yourself at the point of use. It's lighter, cheaper to transport to distribution centers, and faster to deploy in high-volume packing operations. It is also, technically, impossible to pop. The bubbles in iBubble Wrap are interconnected. Press one, and the air simply moves to the neighboring bubble. The sheet deforms, nothing pops. The air migrates endlessly around the sheet, going nowhere, satisfying nothing. The reaction online is immediate and disproportionate to the actual stakes. News articles appear, Reddit threads run for hundreds of comments. Social media users treat it like a product recall. Sealed Air clarifies within days, traditional bubble wrap still exists. iBubble Wrap is for industrial shipping operations. Nobody is discontinuing the poppable version. But the episode reveals something important about what the product actually is to people. It reveals that bubble wrap is not just packaging material. It is an emotional object. It occupies a specific place in how people experience stress, relief, and physical sensation. The popping is not a side feature. For most people who interact with bubble wrap outside of a warehouse, the popping is the entire point. Sealed Air Corporation today generates over $5 billion in annual revenue. Their products protect goods shipped to every country on Earth. Bubble wrap, or its branded variants, is present in virtually every major fulfillment center in operation. More than 175 billion bubbles are popped every year, according to estimates cited in stress research literature. The IBM 1401 computer that gave bubble wrap its first real customer now lives in museums. Fully restored units exist in computer history collections. The machine sits behind glass, on display, protected by nothing. The material that protected it on its first journey has outlived it by decades. Think about the structure of this story for a moment. Product idea fails. Founders pivot. Second product idea fails. Founders incorporate anyway, name a company, file patents, and operate for years with no revenue. A salesman has an idea during turbulence on a plane. A tech company needs to ship a computer. One test shipment succeeds. One contract is signed. Everything that follows, the billions in revenue, the global supply chain presence, the stress ball apps, the appreciation day, the psychological studies, the cultural ubiquity, everything traces back to that single IBM contract. Remove any one link in that chain, and bubble wrap dies in a New Jersey warehouse in 1961. Fielding and Chevans thought they were building a design company. They built a packaging empire. They thought their product would change how people decorated their homes. It changed how every fragile object on Earth moves from one place to another. And the thing that made them famous, the pop, the ASMR, the stress relief, the apps, the appreciation day, they had nothing to do with that. Their customers discovered it. Their customers turned a shipping material into a sensory experience. Their customers built the cultural phenomenon. The inventors made the product. The world decided what it was for. There is a roll of bubble wrap somewhere near you right now. Maybe in a shipping box you haven't thrown out. Maybe in a desk drawer. Maybe in a mailroom down the hall. 2 shower curtains, a heat sealing machine, a failed wallpaper pitch, a failed greenhouse pitch, a turbulent plane ride, a fragile computer. All of it, in sequence, exactly as it happened, producing the thing in your hands. Pop it.